All right, so today we're working on the fuel system of the Miata. We are going to be doing the entire fuel system. We can start it now with the wiring. We've got it wired up enough to start it, not with the sketchy battery to the jumper cable stuff. And we have all the fuel system stuff. So Destchwerks sent us over. We've got lines, braided lines. We've got all the fittings we need. They sent us every single one. I worked with their tech and he was able to figure out every single last fitting I needed so that I couldn't mess it up, because we all know I'm terrible at ordering everything I need. But it's really rad that they make fittings now, because I've always loved their product and I like trying to use the same people for the same things. It's just easier that way and simpler, especially when you have a company that has good tech support and stuff. You like want to continue using them. So we even have our GM style quick connect to AN setup for, we're running a flex fuel sensor, which I don't have right now. So it's kind of, I realize that, like I realize everything that I need when I need to do stuff, but we're gonna work around it. What do we have here? This should be fuel pump, maybe. This is our fuel filter housing. This is nice aluminum housing. Got a filter. I've got a spare filter element. This is our pump. Why did I have everything upside down? Yeah, this is our pump. So this is another big thing that they started doing. They came out with a bunch of application-specific pumps, which is a really big thing, because I had a BMW with just a generic fuel pump in it. And the previous owner thought the head gasket was blown because it kept running bad, and he noticed some coolant in the spark plug well, and he tried everything, coil packs, injectors, whatever. All it ended up being was the fuel pump had fallen off the hanger, and the sock had fallen off the pump, and it was sucking to the bottom of the tank because it was just kind of like sketchily strapped in there. So I like to run an application-specific pump when I can, so I'm really glad that Destchwerks came out with these application-specific pumps for Miata. They have a bunch of other applications too. There's a whole list, which is on their website, which I'll link below. So, one more thing. We also have a fuel pressure regulator. So we're not going to be running returnless, since I ended up getting aftermarket rails. We're going to be running return, just standard fuel system, not the weird GM returnless stuff. Also, Steve's here.
Hey.
Ben's leaving.
Don't look at me.
We're going to go get his XR100. Comment below if you want to see us race XR100s on a kart track, like we did with the karts. Let's see how long till you get uncomfortable.
Yeah, this is just like extra awkward.
Is it? About now.
A little bit more.
But it looks so elegant. Your face looks great. And
I'm gorgeous, I know.
It's a picture.
Thanks. You should send it to me so I can pick up all the bitches on Tinder.
I know. Ben's a Tinder maniac, as I'm sure you guys can tell. All right, so I've got everything organized. We've got our fittings for the regulator. We've got our fittings for the rail. We've got our fittings for the fuel filter. We've got our 45s, our 90s, our straight fittings. These are the big game changer, because these are basically like a compression knurl style fitting that will allow us to adapt from our factory hardline to AN line. So we're going to use this on the return hardline near the firewall, and then at the fuel hat. So the feed coming out of the hat will go immediately to an AN line. We can run an AN line all the way up through the fuel filter. Oh, almost knocked my computer over. To the rail, through the regulator, through the content sensor, back to the hard line right there. So the reason that we were running AN line all the way up and a Destchwerks fuel filter is, one, because it's higher flowing, it's actually got better filtration, but since I do plan on running E85, we cannot use the factory filter. Again, one of the techs at Destchwerks was able to help me with all these questions, and he told me, I forget what the filter is made out of, but it's like a paper or something or another, and E85 will eat it up. So we can't use the factory filter, which the hard lines run through it. It's not like a 240 where it's in the front, it's at the back. So you then have to figure out how to bypass it and all that. So that is why we're running an AN line all the way up. So the first thing we're gonna do is basically get our feed set up and try to get the compression fitting on here, and then we can start running the line from the back to the front, you know, and then everything else in the engine bay is pretty simple. But this is, I guess, the thing I'm most concerned about, because I've never done it. I've never converted a hard line. No? Well, I guess we gotta pull the fuel hat out anyway. We can do this on the bench. We gotta pull the fuel hat out to swap the pump. So that's what we're gonna do first. This is really rad. Every pump I've ever had, it comes with its own connector, and you've got to splice that connector into your fuel pump wires, whereas this one is specifically designed for this car. So it actually has, the factory connector works, all the factory mounting stuff works. That's really cool that they actually made it that OE. I didn't realize it was going to be to that extent. It's at the same angle and everything. That's so cool. Okay, so now we can start working on, we got to cut this nipple off, and then basically put our knurl fittings like that. All right, so I sanded this down just a little bit, just to make it easier to slide the ferrule over. So you slide this fitting on first, slide the ferrule in there, and then we will tighten this down and they will basically compress against each other. All right, scary part over. We got the fitting on. It looks just like the picture Brandon sent me, the tech from Destchwerks. So I think we're good. If it leaks, we'll fix it, but I think we're good. We got extra ferrules just in case. We'll have to do the same thing to the actual fuel line under the car with this other one for the return, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We're going to worry about running the feed line. So we were able to get the stock feed line out, like the hard line and everything, so the complete line is out, which is good. We now know that we can pass our new braided line down through the same route. We won't have to pull the fuel tank to get to it or anything weird. Yeah, okay. We're gonna start making lines, guys. The factory fuel pump bracket is like almost the perfect size. So we're just gonna put like a piece of hose or something, like cut open a hose, glue it in to isolate it, and then mount the fuel filter housing in the same factory location, which is like right there basically. So that's rad. That'll be a good spot for it, because I wasn't sure where we would mount it in the engine bay, and then it'll be by heat and stuff, so we're better off keeping it back there isolated, and then we'll have the regulator up here. So we took the stock bracket and flipped it. I drilled new holes and put rib nuts in and mounted it there. So it's going to have that 90-degree fitting going up to the fuel tank, the fuel pump, and then we'll have a 90 there. It'll loop down and just follow these stock lines all the way up. Works out using the stock bracket and just flipping it, because otherwise it was like all the way over here by the drive shaft and hung down pretty low. So that solved both of those problems.
So
we've marked it
right there. You'll put a piece of tape on there and then you'll cut it. The tape keeps the ends of the hose from fraying out, and when you take it apart, you'll use your fitting. You'll push it in until it cannot push in any further at the end of those threads. And then you put a little lubricant on here and thread it together, and that's it. Not very hard. I mean, it's not very easy, but
it's not super hard. All right, we got number one into the fuel filter. Ben's back with his XR100.
It's a beaut.
Keep it 100. It's already got bars on it. I want like this exact same thing. Like, I don't want a nice one. I want like an older one like this though. I think they look cooler. But yeah, there's a racing series. Basically, you know, put the even size rear wheels front, 18-inch?
16s.
So you'd have 16s front and rear. You put street tires on it. You can do like controls, springs. You can do front fork springs and the rear spring to weight it better to your rider, but no shock changes. And like something else, and that's it. And then you race like on tracks like Bushnell where we did the karting and stuff. So I mean, we both really want to do it. So now that Ben has his here, I have an excuse to try to find one for cheap. So good job, Ben.
What $300 gets you.
If I can find one for $300, I will be all over it. It is way bigger than I thought.
Yeah, no, they're much better than like a pit bike size.
Yeah, it's like a good in-between where it's small enough to toss around but big enough to feel comfortable.
Yeah. If we rode anything bigger, we'd definitely die.
Yeah, yeah. Making lines. All right, so we're facing a huge dilemma here, and it is where to run the fuel line. We tried this routing, which would be down through the trans tunnel, basically. We were originally going to try it here, basically where the brake line's going to go, but the exhaust is just going to go right by it, and you know, it's soft braided line, so we don't know. If we go this way, it's not really going to work because the return's going back to the hard line, so the return's going to have to go down there over the exhaust. And if we go the other way, I mean, there's just like, there's not a good option. Let me show you. So there's the exhaust, and then the fuel lines would need to run right here, basically. At this point, they would come over here, and that would be okay because the exhaust would be somewhere in this general area. It's just basically like this crossover right here, where this brake line is, too. I mean, I guess if we kept them tight to this and then cut over, it would be okay. I think that's probably what we'll just do, and just have to go for it. Fuel line number 2. For the several hours we've been working on this.
Rips.
Ben got his XR100 started. I got the fittings on the fuel pressure regulator, the bracket on. I'm gonna mark it, riv nut it, mount it, then we can make the return line. Oh, that was almost food.
You're making too much soda.
All right, we got the fuel pressure regulator mounted. Now we can make the line from the return rail, and then from here down, I need to figure out where in the line I'm gonna be putting the content sensor though. Probably put it in here. So we'll just make this line a little long, have the content sensor like right there, and boop, and then boop. I gotta say, AN lines is something I've never made, and it's really not too bad. Like, you take this sleeve off, slide the hose into the sleeve, tighten everything down, it tightens your hose on. It's really not that bad. So you set it all up. We put one fitting on, run it, figure out the length of the next one, and then cut it, put it in, like no problem. It's really not too bad. I'm hoping we have enough fittings left to do this, so we have all matching color fittings. That'd be nice. Ta-da! That is basically the process of making an AN line. Right there. I'm going to make the return. The only annoying part about the return is going to that hard line. I've got to do the same thing we did back there, but under the car, which is kind of lame, but we'll get it done. Final line. It's the final fuel line. Oh, no, there's one more. It's not. I don't have to make it right now, but I'm going to make it just because I want it to all look nice and pretty. So pretty. Oh, so pretty. All right, let me show you guys what we got. Here is our fitting that adapts to our hard line, and then we just have our normal line, our other normal line, and it goes up. I'm thinking if the exhaust, oh, it's so hard to do this without a lift. We're gonna have a lift soon, don't worry. The exhaust comes down, basically straight down to about subframe level, comes over, cuts in, will be, you know, we get it tight to the trans, which is kind of where it needs to be anyway. I think we'll be a good bit away from our line, so I think we're gonna be okay there. All right, we got the crossover done. Man, I've got to say, I am really, really happy with the color of these fittings and the quality of them. I've handled a bunch of like random different AN fittings. I couldn't tell you what brands, but these just went together so nice. They felt so nice. Like, I don't know. They're just very nice quality, and I really love this color finish. Like, it's simple, but it's so clean looking. I just love that like nickel color. But I'm very, very happy with how all this looks, man. Huge thank you to Destchwerks. They're just such an awesome company. Like back, oh man, it had to be a year and a half, 2 years ago now. If you guys remember, I think it was the second time I blew the Miata up. It was cylinder 2 again. So I sent Mark at Destchwerks. He's like, hey, send me the injectors. I'll test them for you. He tested them for me, filmed it so I could show you guys, sent me back a test report so I knew exactly what condition my injectors were in. Like, they've just always been so cool and so helpful. You know, like with any technical thing I need to know or parts or whatever. They're a great company with great products. So I don't know, just huge thank you to them. They're just one of those companies that I'm so happy to be able to work with because they're just rad, you know? It's nice when you get that. But anyway, look at that, guys. She's got a fuel system. It's very exciting. We got a nice drop-in pump. Didn't have to do any modifications. We got our adapter fitting there. You guys have seen down below. You've seen the fuel filter. So what I really need to do now, I need to run to the store, get some gas, put a gallon or two in just in case I have to mess with that fitting down there if I did it wrong. Prime it, make sure there's no leaks, and then try to start it, which to do that I gotta plug the PMU connector back in and hook these power wires up. That'll take a couple minutes. So I'm gonna run the store. We're gonna get gas. We're gonna do this. We're doing it tonight.
Both of the hardline ones are leaking.
Yep.
Womp, womp, womp.
Okay, so it wasn't actually the compression lines. Well, it was the one in the back, which was a little loose. I got a bunch of turns on it. I just didn't tighten it enough earlier because I didn't have two of the right size wrenches. The one at the bottom I thought was leaking, and I tried to tighten it, and I couldn't get much out of it, but I forgot to tighten the fitting for the return from the regulator. So tighten that down. Seems like we have no leaks, so we're going to try to start it again. runs! Like it actually runs on fuel. Oh, it's so exciting. It sounded so cool. And I remember we'd have no coolant in it and all that. So we shouldn't run it long and it's open header, but it runs! Actually runs. I don't think we have any more fuel leaks. Stoked. Oh, well, I guess that's a good way to end this video. Fuel system is good. We're literally, I mean, from doing a first drive, we're tie rods away from doing a first drive and filling up the diff and the trans. Other than that, we really do need an exhaust because it's open header and the fuel lines are right there. So, I mean, we could probably drive around the yard, but we shouldn't be going far with no exhaust. I'm gonna see if I can get that done like ASAP. But it runs, like it actually runs with the PMU, with the chassis wiring, no jumping stuff around, no, except for the fuel pump. I mean, why the fuel pump? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It runs with the wiring and with the fuel system, and that's dope. That's a big step. So, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for subscribing. See you next time. Goodbye.
Hell yeah, rug.